In February of 2025, we did another school-wide food audit. And that day, our students, they only threw away 128 pounds of food waste, which still sounds like a lot,
Whoa.
but that's way better than the 400 or whatever pounds they threw away back in 2019. So
That is incredible.
it was
That's
great.
incredible. Hey, folks, let's get today's episode started with a new segment called Wild Guess. Each episode, I'll ask a trivia question related to the topic of our episode. Do your best to guess the answer, and then stay tuned to the end of our episode to find out if you're right. Here's today's Wild Guess. How many tons of food go to waste in American school cafeterias each year? If you think you know the answer, drop it in the comments section on YouTube or Spotify. Keep listening to catch the answer at the end of this episode, and stay tuned in between to hear how schools can take action to keep food out of landfills. Now, here's today's episode. Welcome to Nature Breaking, a podcast produced by World Wildlife Fund. I'm Seth Larson, and today I'll be joined by my co-host Hayley Lawton for a conversation about how to bring a more sustainable approach to back-to-school season. Whether you're a parent, a student, a teacher, or just someone who cares about helping our environment, there's a lot that each of us can do around this time of year. Hayley and I will share some of the best tips and tricks that we've collected from our WWF coworkers, and then you'll hear from Gerin Hennebaul, a Georgia teacher who is participating in WWF's Food Waste Warrior program, which helps to reduce the amount of food wasted in school cafeterias while also getting kids excited about giving back to nature. Before we get started, please take a moment to like this episode on YouTube and rate our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other apps. Those likes and ratings really matter for the algorithm on different platforms and help our show reach more people. With that, let's get started. Hayley, it's so awesome to see you again. Welcome back.
Thank you. So nice to see you again too.
Yeah, happy end of summer. It's upon us already, and it's back to school season, right?
It is.
And so wanted to have you in today to talk about what that season means, and I wanted to start by just asking what it meant to you as a kid growing up. Did you have any big traditions around back to school? Was it exciting? Was it scary? What was that like for you as a kid?
So I was always so excited to go back to school every year. One of the things that I loved doing is getting new pencils and pens every year, which may not seem like a big deal, but I just love holding a pen and pencil in my hand instead of typing.
Yeah.
Another big thing whenever I was younger, I don't think this is a thing now, but book covers. It was a stretchy material, and so each subject had a different color. And I just felt like the coolest person walking around with them.
Did you ever have to make your own book covers with I used to have to do it with a paper grocery bag. You would cut it up and you folded it and taped it so that it would fit your books.
Yes. But the other ones, it was from the bookstore.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I don't think I had those yet. I think that was like a later invention. I'm just a few years older than you. So.
Right. What about you, Seth?
Yeah, definitely always look forward to it. I think there was a little bit of anxiety about new teacher, new class, are my friends going to be with me this year? But for the most part, I think I really look forward to it. Always got a new pair of sneakers. That was a big thing. I usually basketball sneakers for me. Penny Hardaway was a big star, and his shoes were super popular in the mid-'90s, and I had a couple of pairs of Penny Hardaway. They were the Air Pennies. And new clothes, all that sort of stuff. Trapper keepers were the big popular thing when I was in elementary school. They were like these really elaborate binders that you could put your notebooks in and your pens and pencils, and they had all these secret pockets where you could tuck stuff into. So always look forward to getting all that stuff and finding out how the new school year is going to go. But yeah, little anxiety, little excitement, a mix of both.
Yeah, that's so interesting because for my classes, we had the same class every year.
Oh, it mixed up for me. Every year was different.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you have multiple classes for each grade?
Yes. I want to say maybe there were 4 or 5, for first grade, there was 5 different first grade classrooms, give or take. So, and that went all up through elementary school.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had 10 people.
Wow. Okay.
Very small, very
different.
different.
Very small. I was in a pretty rural area. We didn't have a huge school, but I think my graduating class from high school was 120 kids. And it was the same group of kids that started first grade together.
Well, we wanted to start on this topic because this is back to school season for a lot of school districts around the country. And as many people get ready for this transition, there are actually a lot of different ways to think about your impact in the environment and how you can make a difference for nature. So we reached out to a few of our colleagues here at WWF and asked for their ideas about how to bring a more sustainable approach to the school year. And we're actually going to share a few today. So, Seth, do you have any that you suggest?
Absolutely. One that I heard that I really liked and kind of resonated with me was thinking about, we talked about getting new clothes. I always got a new pair of shoes every year. Well, that means you've got old clothes that need to go somewhere, right? So one thing that I really would encourage everyone to think about is upcycling your old clothes so that they're not just going into a landfill. I know my son is about to start first grade, and he basically grew out of all of his kindergarten clothes already. His shoes that we got him at the beginning of the summer that we hoped would stretch into first grade are falling apart because he drags his feet everywhere. And so we've got a lot of clothes that we're going to have to get rid of. And so there's a lot of options to do this now. It's so much easier than it used to be when I was a kid. A lot of communities have buy nothing groups through Facebook that you can join, and they're specifically designed to help you give away old things, whether it's furniture or clothes or toys or whatever. So check and see if those are options in your areas. A lot of communities still have those old-fashioned drop boxes where you can just donate old clothes that you're not using anymore. And if your community doesn't have those options, you can also talk to your school about whether they'd be willing to set up a clothing swap at the beginning of the school year. This is something a lot of schools and communities do, and it's a great way for older kids to be able to hand down those lightly used items to younger kids who might need them. And so it's kind of a twofer. You're helping kids who need those clothes, whose parents may not want to buy clothes that their kids are only going to use for 3 or 4 months before they grow out of them.
Right.
And you're preventing those clothes from ending up in a landfill and just wasting the material and the energy that went into producing them. So there's that great sustainability benefit as well.
Yeah, those are really good ideas. I know growing up, I went to private school, and so we wore uniforms every single day.
Yeah.
So also another thing that we would do, instead of going to the uniform store and buying those expensive uniforms every year, people would just bring in the uniforms that they outgrew.
Yep.
So that was really helpful too.
Absolutely. Super great idea. Hayley, what's an idea that you heard that you liked about how people can be a little bit more sustainably minded around the beginning of the school year?
So I have a few different ideas. The first one would be reusing water bottles, lunch boxes, snack containers. I had this snack container whenever I was younger that I can vividly remember. It was orange with yellow in the middle and a blue top, and I just loved putting my snacks in there. And that also helps avoid excessive packaging and plastic.
Yeah.
Another thing would be to try to buy snacks and supplies in bulk. So that's really helpful. If it's possible, you could walk or bike to school. I know it's not available everywhere. When you're looking to buy new supplies for the school year, look at last year's. You may not need all the new notebooks or pens and pencils like I did.
If my parents tried to tell me that I didn't need a new Trapper Keeper, I probably would have argued with them. But you're totally right. Sometimes as parents, as adults, we need to just be the voice of reason.
Right.
And yeah, if you've already got a box of crayons that are barely used,
you don't need any more. Right. And then the last thing would be, I'm not sure if this is working for elementary school students and middle school students, but in high school, we would use ebooks on our laptops or tablets instead of textbooks. But if electronics aren't available, you can always reuse someone's textbooks from the previous year too.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And I specifically want to call out and agree with you on the reusable water bottles, lunch boxes, and snack packages, because those are areas where you can, as an individual, you can generate an incredible amount of waste really quickly. If you're bringing a juice box and single-use plastic packaging or throwaway lunch bags every day to school, that's going to add up so much over the course of a school year. So getting those lunch boxes that you can reuse every day, the little snack plastic snap together things that you can reuse and just throw in the dishwasher, so much better than just single-use products that are going to end up in a landfill right away.
And they're really fun to use also.
Totally.
All the different colors.
Totally. We should also mention, Haley, that in addition to those ideas, WWF actually has some great resources for educators, parents, kids to take a look at as they're preparing for back to school season. We're going to have a whole segment later in this episode, which I hope people will stay tuned to, about our Food Waste Warrior program, which is really cool in helping schools avoid food waste. But we also have a program called Wild Classroom, which provides a whole array of teaching resources like lesson plans, videos, games, Kahoot quizzes, all to help kids learn about species, habitats, and ecosystems.
Yeah, Seth, you're absolutely right. Wild Classroom has a really cool new opportunity right now. The Green Prints for the Future Sustainability Project Fund gives educators the opportunity to apply for funding to implement sustainable solutions in their schools or communities with the help of Wild Classroom. So, for example, if students notice a large amount of disposable bags or plastic water bottles in the lunchroom or cafeteria, teachers can then work with the students to brainstorm a solution to help try to get rid of them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's super cool. And we're going to include a link to more information about that in our show notes for this episode. I definitely encourage any teachers listening to this to take a look and apply for that program, because it can bring really great financial resources and educational resources to your school to help tackle some cool projects like that. And it doesn't have to be just for the environment. It's kind of can be a fun thing for kids and teachers to work on together as well.
Right.
So that grant program, the application window closes on November 15th, 2025. So get those applications in the next couple months and take advantage of that.
And then one last thing I would like to add, Seth, you talked about fun projects or fun challenges. So I just thought of considering to have a back to school eco checklist.
Oh,
so with the
tell me about it.
Yes, with the tips that we just provided, people could add their own, use the ones that we did, put it on your fridge or share it with your friends. And it's just an easy checklist that can be fun to remember.
That's a great way to be a little more organized about all the ideas that we just threw against a wall.
Right.
No, thank you for thinking of that, Haley. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll leave it there. I hope everyone will stay tuned for my conversation shortly with an educator who's been involved in the Food Waste Warrior program and implementing that in a school in Georgia. And for now, Haley, thank you again for being here, and it was so great to see you.
Thank you, you too.
Okay, let's move to our second segment. A few months ago, I interviewed Pete Pearson, WWF's Vice President for Food Loss and Waste. One of the programs Pete talked about in that episode was our Food Waste Warriors program, which helps schools to avoid food waste in cafeterias. As Pete shared in that interview, the school lunch program in the U.S. serves between 30 and 35 million meals per day. And if you've ever seen a little kid eat, you know that they often leave a lot of food on their plate. So there's a huge opportunity within schools to put a dent in America's food waste problem. One of the schools that participates in WWF's Food Waste Warriors program is Lovin Elementary School in Georgia. I recently had a chance to interview one of the teachers there, Gerin Hennebaul, about why they got involved in the program and what the results have been so far. Here's our conversation. Okay, joining me now is Gerin Hennebaul, a STEM educator at Lovin Elementary School in Georgia. Gerin, welcome to Nature Breaking.
Thank you for having me. Nice to meet everybody.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that we're having this conversation today. I've talked a little bit about the Food Waste Warriors program on this podcast before, but I've never had the opportunity to hear directly from an educator who has real-world experience implementing the program. So I'm excited to hear your story and everything you have to share today. Before we talk about the Food Waste Warriors program, though, can you tell us a little bit more about Lovin Elementary School? Where is it? What grades does it serve, and what's the school culture like there?
All right, so Lovin Elementary School, we are a Title I school. We are about 45 minutes east of Atlanta. We're in a county called Gwinnett County. It's a very large public school district.
Okay.
We have around 850 kids. I just pulled up our new number, so about 850 kids, and we do serve kids from pre-K all the way to 5th grade. And something special about our school, we we are very, very diverse. We have kids from all over the world that come here, and about 20% of our population are served through our special education department. So,
Oh, wow.
so yes, so it's a it's a lot of everything, and they're amazing, amazing kids. We have been a Georgia Department of Education STEM certified school with a focus on ag STEMs. We pull a lot of environmental and agriculture education into what we do since
Oh, that's great.
since 2018, and then we just got recertified this past spring for another 5 years. So that's a pretty big honor. We're the only Title I school in Gwinnett County to have that certification right now. So it's we're proud. Lovin's vision. Now I did write these down. I didn't want to miss any words.
Of course,
Our
yeah.
vision is to cultivate a community of learners who are innovative, collaborative, and prepared for the future. Our mission and motto are molding minds, building character, celebrating uniqueness, and leaving a legacy with the motto, learn it, love it, and live it. Our school name Lovin, we tend to use the Lovin in lots of the stuff that we do. And because we are a STEM school, we have a school-wide focus on our environmental impact. Our culture strongly revolves around solving problems in our community and realizing that the small changes that our students um, do, can make a big difference, a big impact on the world. So small changes make a big
Yeah.
impact. And then we have a school-wide driving question every year that all of our big projects kind of tie back into. And our school-wide driving question is, how might we inspire and empower our community to adopt sustainable practices that protect the environment and ensure access to healthy resources. And this all started back in 2017, 2018, and it's just built and grown into everything that we have at Lovin now. And all of the sustainability and just knowledge about food waste is just part of our culture now and what we do. So
Yeah, let's dive into that and kind of more of the story about how that came to be. My next question was going to be, how did Lovin get started with the Food Waste Warriors program? Was there like an aha moment, a light bulb went off, and you saw a problem, or someone else at the school saw a problem and said, "Oh, this is something we really need to tackle," and then that led to Food Waste Warriors coming into play? I'd love to hear about that origin story a little bit more.
yeah, so back in around the fall of 2018, we noticed in our cafeteria just the sheer amount of food that was going to waste every day.
Yeah.
Our custodians had a really hard time keeping up with the amount of trash that was leaving the cafeteria.
Hmm.
So in we were already doing things like recycling paper, recycling textiles, recycling plastics, and things like that. But we had never thought about our food. And so in January of 2019 is when we discovered the Food Waste Warriors program. And we worked with we have a program here in Gwinnett called it's Gwinnett Clean and Beautiful's Green and Healthy Schools program. And Gwinnett Clean and Beautiful, their Green and Healthy Schools program works with Gwinnett Clean and Beautiful and Gwinnett County Public Schools to kind of bring all the environmental awareness to all the schools. They're amazing. Well, they connected us with World Wildlife Fund, and we conducted our first food waste warrior food audit in
Mm.
January of 2019. And that day, we as the students were exiting the cafeteria, we lined up two cafeteria tables on either side, and we had the big 5-gallon plastic buckets, and each bucket was labeled with fruits or vegetables or milk, water. We weighed everything from the paper, the plastics, the miscellaneous food, such as it happened to be taco day, so that was gross. So the tacos, we weighed everything separately that day. We also counted all of the recoverable foods, and recoverable foods are basically the foods and drinks that are still sealed in their packaging that could
Sure.
potentially be shared with somebody else. So
Gotcha.
this is where I have to look at my data because it was back in 2018. um, or this was in January 2019. I'm sorry. the day of our initial audit, we served 722 lunches that day.
Okay.
The audit revealed that we discarded 449 total pounds of food, just the food waste, in
Wow.
just one day. Of that waste, 74 pounds were fruit and vegetable scraps, and 120 pounds were recoverable items, such as the
Wow.
unopened food and drink. So it
Yeah.
was amazing, and we took pictures of all of that so the kids could see. And it was very eye-opening to the teachers, to the cafeteria staff, the custodial staff, and to the students. It was very eye-opening. Um, so
Yeah, it's crazy, but it also doesn't surprise me, and I've referenced this before when I've interviewed Pete Pearson here at WWF, on this show before. Just observing my own son and having visited his cafeteria once or twice, kids, they get excited, they're talking to their
mhm,
friends, or they just their appetites swing wildly from one day to the next, where they may eat a whole tray of food one day, and then the next they have a sip of milk, and that's the end
yep.
of it. Um, so I could totally see how this happens when you scale up to hundreds and hundreds of kids, but those numbers are still pretty staggering. It
Mhm.
was over 400 pounds of waste, and the way that breaks down.
So we like to do the if then what kind of thinking. And so if that trend of about 450 pounds of food waste every day, if that continued throughout the school year, we would be throwing away over 2,000 pounds of food per week, or over 13,000 pounds per month. And if you look at a whole school year, it would be over 81,000 pounds of food waste during one school year, which is a lot. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so it was really it was a it was a team effort that day to gather all of this data. And looking back to January of 2019, that's where we started. We didn't have a plan going forward. Everything since January of 2019 has happened very naturally and very organically. And even the things that I did last week in the classrooms that I didn't do last year, are already making kind of an impact. So it's neat to see what's happened over the past, um, however many years, 6 years or whatever it's
Yeah.
been.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I know a little bit about the Food Waste Warriors program, and as I said, we have covered it a little before on the show. It basically provides a toolkit to schools, right, that contains an array of solutions that schools
Hmm.
can try or not try depending on what makes sense for them. It's everything from starting a composting program to adjusting the way lunch is served by letting kids choose the amount of food they feel like they need that day rather than serving predetermined
Hmm.
portions. And then there's ideas like creating a share table where unwanted food that hasn't been opened yet can be put out for others to take. I'd love to hear more about the specific tactics that Lovin Elementary deployed and which have really been the most helpful for you.
So after that first audit in January 2019, we worked with specifically our third graders and our fifth grade students that particular spring, to brainstorm ideas. Now, teachers are very clever, and they have ways of
Yes.
guiding their ideas as well. But so that spring, our in January, our students sat down and they brainstorm ideas. What can we do to stop a lot of this food from going in the trash? And that particular spring, from January until May, they came up with a few ideas. One were your typical PSAs on the announcements, like, a lot of the one of our we had a lot of milks thrown away that kids did
Mm,
not even open. They just threw them in the trash. And that's still been a big problem over the past couple of years. And we're working on that again this year. But what students don't realize is in Georgia, there's different laws that or rules, guidelines that you have to follow when the kid, like, they have to get an entree and they have to get one fruit, one vegetable, but they think they have to get a milk just because the student in front of them gets a milk. They just watch what
ah,
happens. And I watched it in kindergarten this year. I watched the first kindergartner come grab his milk, and then everybody else in the line did. Um, so just those PSAs to let the students know, everybody, you don't have to get a milk. If you love milk and you're going to drink your milk, get a milk. But if not, you don't have to choose one. So that was one of the things the kids wanted to do, was just getting the word out there of some misconceptions that they might have. The second thing, we have a separate teacher bar in the corner. It's like a salad bar. And at
Hmm.
the end of the day, the cafeteria staff can't just cover the salad up and save it for another day. It all goes in the trash. Well, we also have chickens. We have 10
Oh.
hens. They're called our Lovin Ladies, because, play on the name again, our Lovin Ladies. So what we decided to do is, instead of all of the fruits or the vegetables from the teacher bar going in the trash, every day our cafeteria staff puts those in buckets, and our fifth graders take those out to the chickens. So it saves us money. Our chickens eat healthier than a lot of teachers do here, and they're spoiled. Our chickens are spoiled rotten. And it also saves all that from going to the landfill. And then the third thing.
Well, if I could just
No, go
first of
ahead.
all, I love your school's commitment to alliteration,
Yes.
like naming all these different programs. But what I feel like not every school has chickens hanging around. What are the chickens there for? Is that part of the
Yes.
agriculture STEM program?
Yeah, so we have a huge it's our STEAM garden. The A in STEM is for the arts. For those of you who are new to STEM, we're a STEM school, so it's
STEM
science,
school. Okay.
technology, engineering, and math.
Hmm.
So we're officially a STEM school, but we're working on the A piece, which is the arts. So adding
Gotcha.
in music and arts and theater and things like that. So that's the piece we're working on in the next few years.
I
So we have
see.
a STEAM garden. Um, and out in it's huge. We grow fruits and vegetables. We feed a lot of the community, especially during the summer with our garden. And we also have chickens out there. The chickens tie into every grade level standards, everything from microorganisms to life cycles to needs of plants and animals. And so we've had our hens. We have 10 of them. We've had them since 2017. It was each grade level that particular year did something called a legacy project, and our second graders worked with our pre-K students to hatch eggs, and they worked with our high school to build our coop. The engineering department of the high school built our coop. So
Yeah.
yeah, so everything, it's kind of amazing to see how everything ties together. So I mean, we just have permission to use our chicken bedding in our compost bin. So um, it all is just a giant web of together,
That's
so
great, and I think one of the cool things about Food Waste Warriors is that it provides this toolkit with these suggestions, but schools can adapt based
mhm,
on their local realities. And not every school is going to have a chicken coop,
right,
but the fact that you do, that's such a creative solution to be able to take that leftover salad that was going to be tossed out
mhm.
anyways and have it serve a secondary useful
Yeah,
purpose.
and when we initially got our chickens, it was a life cycles project for our second graders, and the food waste and the composting, that wasn't even on the radar at the time. It has all just grown together just so organically and naturally. It's been really, really nice. But one of the big things that year, in 2019, that our students came up with was our share table. Um,
Okay.
our share table. We have a table with some baskets on it, and the baskets hold things like sealed bananas, cereals that haven't been opened, cereal bars, oranges, things like that. And then we have a refrigerator next to it that has a glass door on it. Because if it doesn't, the kids will just stand there with it wide open like they do at home. But in our refrigerator, depending on the guidelines, it's different for every district and state. You can put anything in there that's sealed. Bags of carrots, bags of apples. Sometimes we'll have the sealed string cheese or
Hmm.
waters or juice, things like that. Milks, whatever. So they implemented those three things the first year: the PSAs, the teacher bar to the chickens, and the share table. And after the kids implemented those for a couple of months, we conducted another audit in March of 2019. Um, so that particular day, we served 810 lunches. So it was 88 more lunches than the first audit. We reduced our food waste down to 319 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and then 47 pounds of that were fruit and vegetable scraps. We also sent 108 pounds of recoverable items to the share table that day instead of going in the trash. So we discovered that the share table is where a lot it has saved so much food waste from going into the trash.
Wow.
Yes, so it was
And this is all stuff that kids have either brought themselves or gotten from the cafeteria line, but then they decided they weren't gonna eat it, and that's how it
for the
gets
share
passed on to
table,
the.
the share table is strictly things from the cafeteria line. We don't put things from home because of school student allergies, things like that.
Yep.
Like
Yep, yep.
we couldn't put a sealed like the Smucker's peanut butter and jelly sandwich there because of the
Of
peanut
course.
allergies. So we do have teachers and cafeteria staff that monitors that to make sure. I walk by that share table um, many times a day just to double check. But the kids are really really pretty good about what they put in there. It's the share table quickly became a sustainable part of our culture. In 2019, when we got to the end of that school year, of course, we closed it down for the summer. We unplugged the refrigerator and everything. When we got back to school in August, it picked right back up. I did kind of a refresher on the announcements, reminding kids what could and could not go in the share table. Um, and then COVID hit, um, and we had to shut everything down. It was I remember I came to school, so COVID hit in the spring of 2020. When we came back in the fall of 2020, it was just such a strange time. And I remember walking in the hallway, and when I saw that refrigerator unplugged, oh, that's what got to me because I was like,
Ugh,
oh my gosh, everything that we've been doing and all these strides that our kids have made to reduce this food waste, like I just felt like everything came to a screeching halt, which it did. But that's what
yeah,
really got me to see that dark refrigerator. And so we weren't allowed to do our share table that year. I mean, understandably, it's sharing food. We couldn't do it.
sure.
But the next year, when we were allowed to, we plugged it back in, set it back up. It was like those kids did not miss a beat. They were right back to you. It was unbelievable, just
Wow.
how sustainable it had become, even when we had, the COVID break or whatever. We kind of kept the program rolling with the share table. Came back in 2021, 22, and then in January of 22 we started our composting program because we were taking care of our recoverables. The teacher bar was feeding the chickens every single day, but we started a composting program, and it's called Compost Connectors. And we started very small. I wanted to start with the whole school day one. It was composting had been like on our 5-year plan that we had come up with. It was like year one every year, and it just kept getting bumped down. Mainly, uh, I did I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know where to
Yeah.
start. But Gwinnett Clean and Beautiful helped us with that as well. And so we started our composting program. We started really small. We just started with our fifth graders. And so that spring, I would teach a fifth grade class about composting. They would collect fruit and vegetable waste in the cafeteria for their whole grade level. And then a couple weeks later, I would teach another class and they would try it with fifth grade. So we did that during the spring of 2022 just to kind of see how it would go. And it went great. But since January of 22, we've expanded our composting program, and now we collect food waste every single day. We started the second week of school in our cafeteria, first grade through fifth grade, and we do it every single day until the last day of school. And it is part of our culture now, and it's it's been amazing. So much so that in February of 2025, just this past February, we did another school wide food audit, a food waste
Yeah.
warrior audit. And that day, our students, they only threw away 128 pounds of food waste, which still sounds like a lot,
Whoa.
but that's way better than the 400 or whatever pounds they threw away back in 2019. So
That is incredible.
it was
That's
great.
incredible.
It was great.
And so just to recap, so basically, I think what you shared is that uh, you've taken the step of making sure kids understand that they don't need to take milks in the line, because that was something that you and others at the school observed, and just letting kids know about that in morning announcements drove some progress. You've got the salad ingredients from the teacher bar going out to the chickens. You've got the share table implemented, and that's been a huge success. And you've got the composting program. And between those different efforts, it's come down from over 400 pounds of food per day going to waste to just over 100 in the span of a handful of years.
Yes.
That's incredible. And I think it really speaks to, obviously, all of those things took work in the moment, but big picture, they're relatively simple things that most schools can do in some form or fashion, or that most households can do in some form or fashion. I think that's really inspirational and a good reminder of, A, how much food can go to waste when we're not really thinking about it and being deliberate about it, and B, how much of a difference we can make by just putting a little effort and a little care and consideration into it.
Yes.
Hey all, my interview with Gerin went on for a few more minutes, but unfortunately we lost the rest of the recording due to a technical issue. My last question to Gerin was what advice she would give to other schools that want to tackle food waste. Her answer? Start small. Put together a 5-year plan and think about what you want to focus on each year. Get things started with a food waste audit to figure out your baseline, and then work with students, fellow teachers, and administrators to come up with simple solutions to the problems your audit identifies. And then think about adding one new solution each year. As Gerin said, get it running and get it sustainable before you move on to your next big initiative. I really want to thank Gerin and the students and staff at Lovin Elementary for the work they've done. Thanks to their efforts, food waste in their cafeteria fell by over 70% between 2019 and 2025. That is amazing. If you're a teacher or administrator or a parent or student with a passion for nature, then please consider taking action to bring food waste warriors to your school. I'll include a link in the show notes of this episode with information about how to get involved. And last but not least, here's the answer to this week's wild guess question. How many tons of food go to waste in American school cafeterias each year? Using a sample group as a basis, WWF estimates that roughly 530,000 tons of food per year goes to waste in U.S. schools. And that doesn't include milk, which was calculated separately. We heard from Gerin today that milk was one of the biggest culprits, so you can imagine how much bigger that number might be. All the more reason to take action and stop food waste in your life today. Thanks for listening, and together, let's keep building a more sustainable future.